Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scent Essence. Today, we're going to be talking about indole, which is one of the most fascinating subjects in perfumery, aromatherapy, to me at least, and something that when I discovered it really drew me in deeper to this world of scent because of how strange and mysterious it was. And I discovered it in a very interesting way, and I'll tell that story soon. But first, let's just talk about what indole is. So, indole is a chemical compound that's found in flowers, particularly white flowers. And I want to start this off just with a little context from this book that I've shown a couple times now. So, this is an incredible book if you want to start looking into the chemistry of scent, and looking at the molecular level of things. It's very fascinating. And if you couldn't tell, this is a voiceover because I filmed this whole video and then discovered that my mic is broken. So until I get a new mic, I'm just doing this voiceover. And here we go, jasmine. I opened it up to jasmine, and you can see that there's a color wheel, and the color wheel shows what jasmine is made up of. So the blue makes up the majority of the wheel, right? And the blue corresponds to esters, which you can't really see very well, but it's on the right there, and it makes up something like 54% of the jasmine flower. And then there's other things in there. There's ketones, there's what else is there? Aromatic aldehydes, acids, alcohols, etc. So each flower, each plant, each raw material is different. And then I wanted to show you this example over here. So this, you can see this is completely different in terms of the color. Wow, this is so shaky, this video, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's made up of majority orange color, and that corresponds to acids, I believe. Yes, or no, monoterpenes. And then I was pointing out that there's also lactones and coumarins listed in juniper berry. And I think it's so small that it's not even shown visually, like the percentage, but just the point is, you've probably heard of lactones and coumarins if you are into perfume. And if you go on Fragrantica, and there's certain perfumes that actually have lactones listed now in the note breakdown. And that's a modern thing, right? Because in the lab they are able to isolate that compound, that lactone compound, and turn it into a note, right? But out in nature, there are lactones that are part of, the flower or the plant, and they just make up a part of it, right? But in perfumery now, you can actually separate that molecule out and make it a note of its own. Same with coumarins. You can see coumarins there. So I thought that was cool, and I wanted to point that out because I feel like those are pretty well-known chemical compounds now, since they're actually listed as notes sometimes. So then I just wanted to show you the rest of the key here in the book, in the breakdown. So there are relaxing properties, balancing properties, stimulating properties. And so you can tell from the color wheel if that raw material has more of a relaxing quality or more of a stimulating quality. So you can see jasmine is mostly relaxing and balancing, although it does have some stimulating properties, right? So it can definitely have both. It's usually a combination of different things. But like juniper berry over there is much more stimulating, right? So there I am, just explaining that. And then explaining also that it breaks down further how these different chemical compounds, how their properties affect our systems, the different systems in our body, our nervous system, endocrine system, etc. So it's very detailed, it's very in depth. So, yeah, highly recommend this book for anyone studying scent in this way. So, with all that context there, let's talk about indole, okay? So, I'm going to tell you a little story of how I discovered indole. So, I was studying essential oil, aromatherapy, back in the day, many, many years ago, and I had an amazing mentor, and she was a very practiced aromatherapist, and I went to stay with her in her home in North Carolina, and she had the most beautiful workshop. It was like an apothecary with like hundreds of bottles of not just essential oils, but all the different extraction methods, which I learned about while I was there, absolutes and resinoids and resins and atars and, all the different magical substances. So, yeah, while I was there, she had an incredible garden with jasmine blooming. So I got to experience jasmine. And she had picked a jasmine flower for me and put it in a little vase next to my bed. And so I got it was like an initiatory experience with jasmine where I just was like inundated with jasmine. And it was so powerful because jasmine is so fragrant. I mean, it was just this one little flower. It was not even a bouquet, it was just one single flower. And the projection and the strength of the smell was just so strong. And so I just fell asleep every night and woke up every morning to the smell of jasmine. And as the days went on, I started noticing like a really interesting aroma from the flower. And I kept putting my nose up to it and just smelling it. And it was sort of addictive. Like it has a very narcotic effect, I feel. It was addictive, but also, as the days went by, slightly repulsive, while at the same time, like delicious and incredible and intoxicating. It was like all of those things at the same time. And there was this feeling of like just smelling the most beautiful, luscious flower of all time, and then it would kind of reach this edge where it would turn and feel almost repulsive. But something about that was very addictive, and I couldn't stop smelling it. And so I was like, And I pulled out this book, which I had just gotten. She might have given it to me, my mentor at the time. I can't remember. But and I was like, let me look it up in this book. And I was looking up everything, and then I came across this word, indole, that I had never heard of before. So I Googled indole, and I found that it is a chemical compound that is found in feces as well as jasmine and many other white florals, particularly. And it just clicked in my mind. That was the slightly repulsive thing that I was smelling. And I feel like repulsive isn't the right word. Just something that smelled almost of decay a little bit. And it's different than like just a flower dying and wilting, because it was still very much a fresh flower. But I do think the indole starts to come out more as the flower wilts, which is why I kept smelling it more and more. But anyways, just a very mysterious sort of dark quality. Let's just say that, because to me it wasn't really repulsive. It was just like, oh, I don't know. It was just mysterious. Let's just say that. And it makes so much sense to me that it's in this flower. I mean, we're humans, right? And there's something really primal and carnal about having this touch of like animalic essence in something as beautiful as a flower. And we do this not just with indole and indolic florals, but like oud. Oud is incredibly animalic and often compared to a barnyard. And a lot of people can't stomach oud in the same way that they can't stomach indole. But for those who can, there's something so alluring and intoxicating about it, and it often serves as like an aphrodisiac. And just keep in mind that I think the reason that it does work for the people that it works for is because it's in small doses, right? It's part of a perfume, just in the same way that indole is just one of the chemical compounds of jasmine. If it was all indole, it would actually be repulsive, but because it's just part of it, it creates a really sensual, complex, deep, rich scent profile. And so when you add a little bit of oud to other notes in perfumery, it adds that same quality, that same intrigue. And, also, let's put some respect on the people in the Middle East that wear just full on oud by itself. Okay? Not a lot of people in the rest of the world do that, I don't think. But if you go to the Middle East, people will just rock oud by itself, and it's like their nose is kind of trained to tolerate it much more. But yeah. Anyways, I think it makes a lot of sense that we're drawn to those types of scents in some way. I definitely am. I love indolic florals. And here I am showing you some jasmine. This is Jasmine Absolute, and I think jasmine is probably the most famous for its indolic nature. And you'll see a lot of people just really turned off by jasmine as well as other white florals because of how indolic they can be. But I personally just love it. I have always loved white florals. And for that reason, because when I smell a white floral, I get this feeling like it's truly intoxicating me. And my eyes roll to the back of my head, and it's so sensual and mysterious. And I think of jasmine as the queen of the night, right? Because Rose is also a queen. Of course, she is. And they're just queens in different ways. Jasmine is kind of like the high priestess to me. That's how I think of her. And I'll insert a picture here. That is the high priestess card. So she's a queen of the night. You know, she's lunar, she's nocturnal. And so there is a darkness about her. It's like Galadriel in Lord of the Rings. I'll put a picture of Galadriel too. There's this pure moonlit beauty, but there's also this dark edge, and that's like the indole, right? And then Rose, I'll insert a picture of the Empress here. Rose is like the Empress card in the tarot, which feels like the goodness of the goddess, the goodness of the earth, like fruits and abundance and fertility and love, right? And of course, there's indole in Rose too. So don't forget that, but it's just a much smaller amount. And so it doesn't hit you in the same way. But remember, like in that Empress card, underneath the earth, the indole is there, the decay is there. That's how we have fertility at all. That's how we have growth. That's how we have abundance, right? Is all the decay and the rotting and everything that's happening underground. So it's everywhere, right? But with Jasmine, it's just so much more apparent. And it's like she is drawing you in and casting a spell on you in the night. And you don't quite know everything about her, right? Like you can't quite see. It's like the dark side of the moon. So I love Jasmine for that. I just find it to be such an alluring and bewitching scent. That is a good word. It's bewitching. Rose to me is not bewitching. It is incredibly beautiful and heart opening. To me, it kind of works on the level of the heart. But Jasmine is working on a different level. um, she's here to bewitch you, to cast a spell on you. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense and you can like relate to that. um, but yeah, let's move on to ylang ylang. And I wish I had some other essential oils with me or absolutes such as tuberose, but this is what I have for today. So ylang ylang is a yellow floral, but it does have a good amount of indole, and I realized this the other day when smelling it again for the first time in a very long time. It had that same effect on me where it felt like it was lulling me and intoxicating me, and I was rolling my eyes to the back of my head. And immediately when that happens, I'm like, oh, there must be some indole in here. Because it truly is like a narcotic effect, you guys. I wonder if anyone else would describe it that way. Just let me know. So let's move on to some perfumes. The first one is Borabora from Giardini de Toscana. And this is a gorgeous, creamy floral perfume with ylang ylang, jasmine, tiare flower, and an interesting molecular note called jasmolactone. And by the way, I'm just smelling it, which is why it's not on camera. Um, but yeah, jasmolactone sounds delectable. I'm like, please give me all the jasmolactone, whatever that is. I can only assume that it's jasmine and lactones, some sort of molecular combination of both of those things. So, yum, right? And then there's also apricot, which is one of my favorite notes, and coconut milk, which just adds to the creaminess of it, adds some sweetness, and vanilla and musk and caramel in the base. So it's a very warm, smooth, creamy floral that is not too sweet, not too synthetic or anything like that. It's just gorgeous, and I feel like you could wear it year round. There's so much warmth that you can wear it in the winter, but I feel like it's also something that you could wear on a summer night, with the ylang and the coconut milk. It's just really, really pretty. So that is one of my favorites. And then we have Leila from by Rosie Jane. And this is one of my most beloved jasmines. I am obsessed with her. And I feel like this is the perfect indolic jasmine. It's soft and cocooning on the dry down, and again, just has that addictive quality that makes me keep sniffing my wrists. It's very juicy and fresh and green in the opening with a nectarine and grass note. So you might not pick up on like that indolic jasmine that I'm talking about when you first spray it, but if you leave it on for a while and then smell your wrist, you're just gonna get a really nice sort of sweet, gentle indolic jasmine. So I think this is a great perfume for anyone who's maybe been scared of jasmine or scared of indoles but curious about it. This one is not going to be overpowering. It's not like Alien or something from Mugler. It's just a really beautifully done, natural smelling jasmine. So, yeah, I love that. And I also love the opening. I really love the whole experience of the perfume from the opening to the dry down. So, highly recommend that one. And next up is Diptyque's Son. And this is just the most gorgeously done soliflor, meaning single flower perfume. Not a lot of perfumes these days, I feel like, are soliflors where they're just spotlighting one single flower. It's usually like a mix of different florals. But this one is just tuberose. It's a tuberose balm, and there's not much else going on in this fragrance, and I just adore it. And the first time I smelled it was on this woman at my old job. She was walking down the hall, and the sillage was incredible because I could smell it from down the hall. And I think she had just sprayed it, but still, it was so impressive, the trail that it left. And I complimented her and I asked her what it was so I could write it down and get it for myself. And you guys, I've only done that twice in my life. I mean, I have complimented people a lot on their scent, but it's usually just like, oh, you smell so nice, you smell amazing, but I don't necessarily ask them what they're wearing because it's not something that I'm interested in getting myself. So only twice have I ever done that, and it was this perfume, and the other time was with Gucci Bloom. It turned out to be. It was at my old job when I was living in Atlanta. I was the host at this restaurant, and this gorgeous woman walked in, and she smelled incredible, like a fresh bouquet of white florals. And I asked her what she was wearing. She said Gucci Bloom, and I was like, oh, my heart is broken because I was not about to get a Gucci perfume for so many different reasons. um, but I do love that perfume. Like, it is gorgeous. I just would never buy it. But that's another tuberose forward perfume. So yeah, I clearly love tuberose. And I am definitely going to be getting myself a full bottle of this. Not directly from Diptyque. I'm sure I will get it from Mercari secondhand because there's some good prices on there for full bottles. I have been savoring this last little bit of my travel spray of this scent. And then the last one I have is called Suspended Water Lily from this small business called Botanica. And you know, we love a small business around here. It's always great to support like a small perfumer if you can. And this is an incredibly done gardenia scent. And gardenia is actually not something that can be extracted for use in perfumery. You know, like there's no gardenia essential oil or anything like that. So when you see gardenia listed as a note, it's usually a combination of different white florals, usually jasmine and some others. So when you're smelling gardenia in a perfume, you're smelling jasmine and other things that are coming across as gardenia. And this one does a really good job of smelling like gardenia. Like you can smell the difference. It doesn't just smell like jasmine. It's similar, but not the same. And yeah, here I am smelling it. But yeah, this is really beautiful. This is like a whimsical, aquatic, floral scent. You know, suspended water lily. It's kind of like a mermaid scent to me. And yeah, it's really beautiful. So, those are all of my indolic perfumes. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. I hope the voiceover and everything was okay, not too choppy or weird. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on indole. Do you love it? Do you hate it? I feel like there's not a middle ground for most people. So let me know what you think. If you have any questions or comments, just drop them down below. I'd love to talk to you. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, please take care, and I will see you next time. Bye.